everybody, and welcome to Epic Every Day, our weekday podcast for busy, overwhelmed Christians who want to stop being busy and overwhelmed and start living in freedom and abundance and peace. I'm Liz Ferricks, and this is my husband, Evan.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes. Happy Monday. Mm-hmm. It's some people's favorite day of the week.
That's right.
And
it's half the people in this room.
Yes. So last week we spent the entire week talking about money. And this week we're going to spend the whole week talking about time.
Yes.
Because those are huge, overwhelmed things.
Oh, yeah. Very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the number one things. You know, if you ask people how they're doing, their answer is busy. Yeah. I've totally done that too, where it's that's what I feel. What I'm feeling right now is a lack of time.
Yeah. Today in the bathroom at work, some random person, as we were washing our hands, and he just said this to me, and then he walked out the door, was not enough hours in the day. That was the extent of our conversation.
He's like, I need more time to wash my hands.
Or maybe it was, I can't really afford to be going to the bathroom right now. Like, all right, man.
Yeah.
Pretty busy out there.
That is so true, man.
I'm just always fascinated with how busy kids are. And it's kind of a cute, appropriate busyness, because they're always doing something. Like with our little niece, she's getting ready to turn 2, but she's always busy. And it's cute.
She is so busy.
But when that's not what we're talking about, because that's appropriate. Right. That's the kind of 2-year-old toddler busyness. You're either busy or you're eating or you're sleeping, and that's kind of your life. Yes. And that's fine.
Yeah. Adult busyness is that, like, there's no time to breathe. You just rush from one thing to the next.
Well, maybe there's something to be said for looking at a toddler. If there's a baby in your life, or if you've had kids, like, they're not feeling that sense of overwhelm and pressure, really. I mean, they're doing things all the time, but they're not like, I gotta get this toy, put it on the shelf, or something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, it is definitely that something bad is gonna happen.
Right, the or else looming, you know, that's an adult. But why? Yeah, how do we get ourselves into that spot where that's looming, all that danger?
Yeah, society.
Yeah, there's probably a number
life.
Of ways. Yeah.
So, as you guys know, we work our way through the CSCs. They are being calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete. And since today is Monday, we're going to talk about calm and time, which is probably why we're keying in on anxiety here when we think about busyness. And I'm sure a lot of this is probably going to be repeat, because we've talked about calm and busyness and stress and things like that before. But kind of the nature of the show is to be a reminder show.
Yeah.
Girl could use a reminder.
And boys too, because we were reminding ourselves to be in the CSCs here. I mean, we're probably benefiting the most from doing this show than anybody listening to it.
Yes. So if you hear something you've heard before, hopefully it strikes you in a new way, or maybe it just means that you need to work on applying it. It's just a reminder.
Yeah. And if it really bothers you, come on, join our Facebook group and tell us all about it.
So, yeah, busy rushing from one thing to the next, having that looming or else.
And what's the problem with that? I mean, the problem is the stress it generates, right?
But, yeah. Well, and the stress kind of underneath it. Like, it just exacerbates that stress. And since it becomes a snowball. Like, since we're already stressed because of the or else, then we're not thinking clearly, we're not able to focus, we're in fight or flight, our creative brains, our reasoning brains, it all shuts off.
Yeah.
And so then we're less effective and less efficient, so then we're more stressed, so we're less effective, less efficient, we're more stressed. Yeah. Like, it's a downward spiral.
Yeah, and when we're locked in that, there's some missed opportunities, I think. We're less likely to say yes to random little things that come along, you know, people, relationship opportunities, or, anybody else. We could be neglecting other things in our life because we're feeding that cycle.
Right. And there's not really any room for spontaneity.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm a huge fan of spontaneity
Right.
in general,
You understand the
but
value of it on an
yeah, so
academic level.
yeah. Well, when I was thinking about this, I was reminded of this movie, which is one of my favorite movies. It's a
Should I
Hallmark
guess what it is?
movie.
Oh, well, I'm not going to know what it is.
It's called Love at First Sight.
Okay.
And if you ditch the romance part and just I love the male lead and how that character, I don't know, just the way that character does have that room in his schedule and that room in his life. He's so willing to just sit with people and let them, listen to them, let them be themselves, and that allows them to work through so many of their issues, which I don't know, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, just inspired to have that openness in my schedule. And I want to go through my day in that state of peace that allows for creativity and spontaneity and handling things with grace instead of having, something happen and it being like, this is the straw that breaks my camel's back.
Right. And that calm is not something, I mean, we talk about that's the first CSC, but it's not something we conjure. Like the CSCs
Right.
build on themselves and they kind of are the antidote to that stress loop that you were talking about. That we can't be calm unless we're surrendered. And I was thinking complete and centered. Well, all of them really, and connected. I
They
mean,
all kind of feed off of each
we're
other.
not rooted in our relationship and our identity with God and the security, our eternal security, but just our security that we're where we're, God made us
Right.
to live in this time and place on purpose. It's not a random thing or whatever. Like that helps us move
Yeah.
through life with a purpose.
Right. I love in Psalm 139 where it talks about how God knows each of our days before we're even born, like every single day. And then, Philippians where it talks about how God has prepared good works in advance for us. Like he has a plan for us for every single day, and we don't want to miss out on the good things that are in that day just because we're rushing.
I think one of the things that gets me into trouble as far as rushing goes and anxiety about my schedule is when I start to compare myself to other people. Like if they seem like they're, well, that guy in the bathroom today, I wouldn't want to, I'm not envying him, but it's like, why is he so much busier than I am? Like, should I be more anxious about this? We both work here. Or if I see somebody who seems like they're more relaxed, and I don't know if they're living in the CSCs or not, but it's like, oh, why can't they get to relax and I don't? Or,
Yeah.
it's more about what you're just talking about, like being connected with God enough to understand my place in the world. And we all live in communities. We have our families, we have our work, we have our church, our neighborhoods. So we fit into those places. So it's hard to not compare, but there's got to be, what is the word? Like autonomy? Does that mean knowing and being myself as well as relationship?
Yeah. Definitely. So, on a practical level, some of the things that have helped me, in addition to trying to make sure that, that connection is there and kind of the philosophical underpinnings of calm. But one thing that we've talked about before is to make a schedule. Because the first time that we did this and I actually wrote out my schedule, I was like, oh, this is why I'm so stressed and rushed, is because I'm trying to fit 30 hours worth of stuff into 24 hours of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's an eye opener there.
Right.
There's some yeah. And you wouldn't know it until you write it down.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, actually, I just did this exercise again this morning
So how
because,
many hours are in your day?
well, actually, it was really good. Part of my Bible study, I've been doing, I think it's called Your Best Yes by Lisa Tierkirst. And it was the go back and review everything that you've learned section. And so when I was looking at it, I sat down with our daughters and wrote out, like here's our potential schedule, kind of what we've been doing and trying to put more wiggle room in. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like what we've been doing, well, we've been sick the last couple of weeks, so we haven't had a normal schedule. But even when I wrote down, here's what our ideal fall school schedule looks like, it had wiggle room in it.
Nice.
Weirdly.
Yeah.
Like,
more than it seemed like it did a few months ago.
yeah.
In the summer, I guess.
Yeah, I realized that's kind of my second thing, like creating margin, because we've been working on that. And so I had to decide whether I had more of a value of going through my day with margin and with calm and, having room for that peace and that grace and creativity, or whether it was more important to try to cram as much stuff in as possible.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to do. I mean, my schedule is a little bit more dictated to me because of work or whatever, but I do have breaks and I can fill that almost any way I want to.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to go down and meditate, and when I do it, I'm building that margin in, and it adds so much to my calm. And I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything. I'm
Right.
going into a room and staring at the wall for 15 minutes. Well, if I'm honest, it's really hard to meditate that long. But I bring my devotion down there too, and do have some prayer time too. So I can't meditate for an entire 15 minutes, but it's definitely quiet time,
Yeah.
and it's not work.
Yeah, it makes such a difference having that be a value. I used to think that if I just got enough stuff done, that I would eventually reach a place in my life where I would
Well,
have margin.
yeah, and it's all at the end, I guess. I think that's like, I don't know, maybe it's just because we're not old enough to have retirement looming over us, but like I never really got the appeal of it either. It's like, so you work so that you can relax when you're 60 and 70 and 80, and I mean, it doesn't make more sense to like work in some of that that more downtime, more relaxed time now throughout,
Right.
and then just
Yeah.
work your whole life, I guess.
Man. Yeah. I was just watching a video today about Japan and all the people dying from overwork there, and how it's a culture of, they passed a law recently that you can't do more than 100 hours per week of overtime.
Holy cow!
Yeah, because people were dying from doing more than 100 hours per week. But 100 hours per week of overtime, you're barely sleeping. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, at some point, you're not any more productive
right.
than 50 hours of overtime, you'd think.
You would think. It was kind of
Wow.
crazy to me that happens. But, I mean, we still have that culture in the United States that if we just do something faster, it'll be better, instead of recognizing that faster is not always better.
Yeah. So, what are the things that determine what we're even adding to our schedule? Like, the 38 hours worth of stuff that we're supposed to cram into a 24-hour day. That all comes back to our values, right?
Right.
What's important? Well, it's all important,
Yeah.
but we can't live like that. So it takes some examination, like you were
Yeah.
doing with your schedule today with the kids, and like I remember how monumental that was earlier in the year when you did that and figured out that you're trying to do 30 hours worth of stuff. So, and then putting a value. So maybe it all is important, but what's the most important?
Right. Well, and as I said, when I started asking myself, is this more important than having that calm and that peace and creativity in my day?
Yeah.
And, going, wait, well, no, actually, it's not.
Right. Or if it all has to get done, then there's some systems out there that can help. I mean, the Sacred
Right.
Six system by J.B. Glossinger has been great, where
Oh, yeah.
you're doing less a day, but magically somehow you're getting more done in a year,
It,
than you ever
yeah, it
had.
is crazy to me, but he talks about how if you have more than 6 things on your to-do list, your brain automatically switches into overwhelm mode, and so you get less done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just have 6 things on your to-do list, you can go, what are the 6 most important things that I need to get done today? So you're getting the most important things done, and you're not in overwhelm mode, so you have the margin and creativity to actually do them.
Yeah. And then those things get done today, and then you do another 6 things tomorrow.
Right. You wouldn't think that it would really make a big difference, but it's been revolutionary.
So we want to, that comes back to, I think, the beginning. Like, where's our place in the world? What does God want us to do? What's our objective here? What are our values? Do that stuff. Don't compare. I'm talking to me too. Don't compare myself to everybody else, because they're doing things based on their values, or they're just out there winging it and they're stressed and they think the day should be 35 hours long.
Yeah,
So either way, not worth comparing.
definitely. All right. Well, we love you guys, and we are praying for you that you can find greater peace and calm in the middle of whatever your time schedule looks like. Come back tomorrow, and we are going to talk about being surrendered and time, and how surrender or lack thereof plays into overwhelm.
Really appreciate you listening. It helps more people listen to the show. If you're listening on iTunes, if you could leave us a review there, or like we said, share it with a couple of friends.
Yes, because the more people who are living in the CSCs, the better it is for everybody.
That's right. Well, thanks for listening today.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.